8 years ago, research. Hopefully, you don't hear this French music. 80 years ago, researchers began one of the longest and most complicated projects to understand human behavior in history. It would take 50 years to complete. Cool. But their work would define an entire field of psychology. Wow. It started with an idea that people have different fundamental character traits, and that these character traits are inherited and stable throughout one's life. It was the idea of personality. Cool. The problem is that there were an infinite number of behaviors. So how could you know what was caused by someone's personality and what was just caused by all the shit going on around them? It's a good point. To test and find stable personality traits, researchers would have to make an exhaustive list of all of the possible human behaviors and then measure these behaviors in a lot of people over a very long time to determine what was a fundamental personality trait and what was just noise and bullshit. Okay, that makes sense. Got to do that. So the project started out humbly enough. In 1936, Golden Alport and Henry Odbert pulled out a dictionary and went through every single entry, writing down any word that could potentially describe behavior. Wow, that would take a while. Talk about a one-way ticket to Boresville. Hardy har har, Mark. This work was actually very important because our understanding of human behavior is bounded by words. Therefore, to get a full sample of predefined human behavior, you have to go through the whole damn dictionary. Wow, what a trip. In the end, they assembled a list of 4,500 words that describe all the crap that humans do. Everything from fetishize to bootlicking to scatological were probably on the list, assuming those words were in the dictionary back then. The next project was to start going through the list, grouping them into categories that encompassed as many words as possible. Are you looking for a meetup by any chance, man?
No, just looking around.
Oh, okay, cool. Words like talkative, wordy, loquacious, garrulous, I don't know how to say that word, could all be thrown under talkative. Okay, so you could categorize words. Great. So it took about 10 years. Then another guy named Raymond Cattell came along. Based on Alport and Odbert's research, he declared 16 fundamental personality traits of all human behavior. Whoa. As time went on, it became clear that many of these traits... Oh, shit, on a shingle. It became clear that many of these traits came and went in people over time. And some other traits remained relatively consistent. Okay, so each time a trait was observed to fluctuate too much, psychologists threw it out, so they were looking for the traits that would stick around. Got it. What was left was 5 stable traits: extroversion, openness to experience, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism. Those were the 5 categories deemed to explain all human behavior. Whoa. But it would be another 20 years before they had sufficient research and data to back up this claim. What the fuck? In the 1990s, we had the data, and everybody threw a party. Well, the extroverts threw a party. And people high in neuroticism got really anxious and worried about what to wear. The point is that these 5 traits have become known as the Big 5 personality traits, and they are one of the most established and scientifically driven measurements in the field of psychology. Booyah! In case you haven't been paying attention, very few. Which in case haven't been paying attention, nice typo mark, has very few established scientific driven measurements. Cool. So Big 5 are relatively stable over time. They persist through circumstance. There's a specific genetic component, and they partially determine who you are, what choices you make, and how well you do in life. Cool. I'll drink to that. On average, extroverts experience more positive emotions, have wider social networks, and likely as a result make more money. People who are conscientious are healthier and live longer because they wash their hands after they piss. It's a good deal. People with high levels of neuroticism struggle emotionally and are more likely to lose jobs, get divorced, and become depressed. Working on that, but that's this guy. People who are more open to experience tend to be creative, risk-taking, and political liberals. this guy as well, although becoming more conservative. People who are low in openness tend to experience political conservativeness and are bad at hosting orgies. That is a really, really important skill to have, so that's unfortunate. But out of all the big five personality traits, one of the five stands above them all in determining professional success. Agreeableness. Hey, Mark. Conscientiousness predicts workplace success too, bud. But I guess agreeableness is the most important. Or rather, lack of agreeableness. Basically, assholes make more money, a lot more money. Okay. Now, it's easy to lament this evidence of how fucked up the world is and how the meanest, cruelest in our society are the ones that get ahead, but I think that's a whiny and immature way to look at it. What an asshole you are. Just because you are nice doesn't mean you're good. Just because someone is mean doesn't mean they're a bad person, okay? In fact, I believe this world needs its fair share of assholes. And that being an asshole is a valuable life skill. What I mean by being an asshole is a willingness to be disliked or to upset other people. In other words, to have boundaries, Mark. As we will see, sometimes hurting someone's feelings, or just being willing to hurt someone's feelings, is a necessity for both ourselves and also for the greater good. And I believe that if more of us were willing to flip the asshole switch on, the world would be a better place. Okay. Good first part. The game theory of assholedom. Okay. Let's say you have two sides of a business deal. Let's assume this is a big, important business deal. It will potentially generate a lot of income or money for all involved and also do good for the world. Sounds important. Now let's say that one side has learned the ineffable skill, being an asshole. The other has not. That is, one side is totally willing to be disliked and the other is not. What's going to happen? Well, it's obvious. The asshole is going to steamroll the other side, get the deal that heavily favors them. Run this situation millions of times over the course of multiple decades and you end up in a situation where assholes rule the world. No surprise. But let's run the experiment again with two non-assholes, two people willing to unwilling to be disliked. Both sides come together. Instead of pushing for every small advantage of the other side, they don't want to be assholes, so they agree to terms that are fine but not stellar for themselves. This almost sounds like fuck yes or no in a weird way. The deal still gets done, but will be suboptimal. You're using suboptimal now. It's like your new favorite word because neither side pushed to the full extent of their capabilities. Therefore, a lot of value will be lost in the process. I don't know about that. That was a pretty broad generalization there of an interaction, but sure, let's go with that. Another situation is two non-assholes will fail to reach a deal because the initial offers on both sides will be so far off the mark that they won't want to push too hard to make the other side dislike them. Instead, they will both kind of say, hey, I guess it's not going to work out, but no hard feelings. Let's get a drink and play Yahtzee. And they will play Yahtzee for play money because they will be broke. That was pretty funny. The third situation is when two assholes come to a business negotiation. Both sides are totally willing to be disliked. And not only will they push for everything they need for the deal to be advantageous for them, they will push even further. They will consciously antagonize the other because they will understand that antagonism wears people down and makes them capitulate more easy. God, Mark, you're the fucking man. Strangely, this really, really unpleasant circumstance is one that will produce the most optimal result. Both sides will likely push the deal so far that no one ends up happy with it. Both sides will feel like they lost, but the resulting agreement will likely produce the better results for both sides because they left no stone unturned when pursuing the best for themselves. Cool. I'm with that. I'm down with that. And then you have a nice little graph here. Everyone hates the other. Nice person. Asshole gets more than he deserves. Settled in the deal. Cool. That makes sense. Nice visual there. So yes, assholes rule the world. But that's because in high-stakes situations, being an asshole is advantageous. Sometimes it's useful for your boss to think that you're kind of a dick. I hear that saying, he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. Yeah. Sometimes it's useful for your friends to think that you're an asshole. Strangely, it shows them that they can trust you. Have you ever tried to break up with someone while not hurting their feelings? Yeah, it's impossible. So most non-assholes just end up staying in bad relationships for way longer than they should. Mark, quit calling me out, bro. So let's summarize. I hope that he ends up talking about whether or not these traits can fluctuate, because if agreeableness is an inborn personality trait, then this is likely useless for people that are hyper high in agreeableness, but we'll see. It's probably going to talk about assertiveness skills. So let's summarize. The more something is, the higher the stakes. The more important something is, the higher the stakes. The higher the stakes, the more emotionally involved people are going to be with the outcome. The more emotionally involved people are going to be with the outcome, the more difficult it will be to upset someone or tell them something they don't want to hear. Fair enough, liberals. Therefore, the more important something is, the more valuable it is to be able to shit in somebody's mouth if necessary. Very great visualization there. QED, learn to be an asshole. Okay, cool. The best way to do business, apparently. Got it. Cool. This is an uncelebrated skill. Hell, it's a skill that we look down on society and as a culture because it's unpleasant. But if it's a necessary part of the world, assuming asshole has a code of ethics. How to be an ethical asshole. You sandbagging son of a bitch, Mark. Okay, let's see how he ties this together. When we think of assholes we don't like, we think of people who are unethical. They lie, cheat, steal to get their way. Oh, you're going to come up with vulnerability and honesty. That these people are assholes, but they are also unethical. Let's put this in terms of an SAT question. All unethical people are unlikable. All unlikable people are assholes. Okay. True or false? All assholes are unethical. True, I'm bad at logic. True, fuck you, Mark Manson. Only I decide what's true, neither. Question violates my religious beliefs. D, well, unethical are assholes. Not all assholes are unethical. Correct answer is D, yes. So there's such thing as an ethical asshole. And I would argue that ethical assholes are national treasures. We need ethical assholes because they're the only thing protecting us from the unethical assholes. That's a great point. Little light bulb there. I like that sentence. You could bold that one. So assuming you're ethical, how does one become more of an asshole? Well, as we've established, some people are born with it. Some people are just naturally very disagreeable, okay? They think people are pretty shitty in general, so they don't care if people don't like them. Which also, side note, leads to more willingness to vocalize political stances online. But for those people who are agreeable, learning to be an asshole is a skill that must be practiced. Same way an introvert must practice using extroverted skills when necessary. The agreeable person must learn to be disagreeable when necessary, lest they get walked over. Great. Oh, you're going to values on this one. All right, so what's the next one? Here are a few steps to becoming more of an asshole. Decide what's more important than people's feelings. Most people let their life be dictated by feelings, both their own feelings and the feelings of others. They don't realize this because they haven't stopped to think about it. But as I've written before, if you allow yourself life to be dictated by your feelings, you're going to be stuck in a shithole forever. Nice. The key to developing the willingness to upset people is to understand what's more important than them being upset. When you hurt someone's feelings, would you hurt someone's feelings to save a dying? Would you hurt someone's feelings to save a dying family member? Yeah, probably. What about save your career? I would hope so. Some probably don't. What about promote a good cause you care about? This is totally unethical assholes are assholes because they care about themselves more than others. I don't know. Okay, I guess so. Yeah. Unethical assholes are assholes because they care about themselves more than others. They are narcissistic and see the world only in terms of what benefits themselves. Obviously, that's bad. They are unethical because their cause is bad. Finding a good cause beyond one's own interests is the first step in becoming an unethical asshole. Great. Get good at feeling bad. Most people who are too nice think they are nice because they care too much about other people's feelings. They say to themselves, ooh, I'm tingling in my sternum because I feel like this is probably a good point you're about to make. Hope my phone doesn't run out of storage. They say to themselves, well, I could never say that to her because she'll feel bad. They're lying to themselves. They think they're being altruistic, but they're not. They don't want to say it to her because they don't want to make themselves feel bad. Their sympathy for others is a tool that holds them back. They won't hurt other people's feelings because then they'll feel bad for that person, and they can't stand to feel bad themselves. Get good at feeling bad, and you'll become okay at making others feel bad when necessary. That's a crazy sentence. Get good at, wow. I just got off the phone with a friend last night. I chewed him out for doing something pretty stupid that involved me. He felt awful. I feel awful and he feels awful, but I also know it's a good thing that we both feel awful. It's for a good cause, so I can bear it. Interesting, Mark. Some kind of weird alarm's going off. Not that you're wrong, but just that it's just kind of a blanketed argument, but okay. But for me, to be able to make him feel awful, I first need to be capable of feeling awful myself. Fair enough. Lean into painful honesty. We've all been in that situation where we want to say something that's important, but there's also a good chance that we'll upset someone when we say it. That uncomfortable tension inside of us as we go back and forth on whatever we should say or not. Create a new rule for yourself. If there's something uncomfortable that you believe is important to say, just say it. Don't think about it. Just trust in the long run, more times than not, you'll be happy that you said it. In fact, chances are, in the long run, the other people will be glad you said it. Yeah. The first few times you're an asshole, it will feel terrifying, but once you get some of the positive social feedback, you'll start feeling more comfortable with it, and it will become more naturally. You'll be an asshole, but you'll be their asshole. It's weird. Because here's a funny thing, once you start to hone your asshole skills, other people will come up to you privately once everyone else has left the room, or maybe corner you in the remote hallway somewhere while looking over their shoulders to make no one else hears, and they'll say, hey, thanks for saying that. My God, that really needed to be said. I'm so glad you did. This will begin to happen all the time. In fact, it's shocking how much non-assholes rely on ethical assholes to go to bat for them. Amen. You know, kind of like what I'm doing now, you candy-ass snowflakes. What a fucking dork. Seriously, people, you're fucking welcome. You know how many times I've stuck my neck out for shit that you care about, but are too scared to say? Christ on a cupcake. Maybe get off your asses every once in a while, eh? And get the fuck out of here. I have a book to write. Okay. That was a pretty good article. Not one of his best, but I guess I'm talking to you since I'm not going to post. Maybe I'll post this. I don't know. Super important. Some of the arguments that you made were pretty broad. It almost sounded like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, yeah, it was good. It was a good article. It was a good reminder. Good reminder. I would just worry about people going too far with it. Like, oh, I'm going to be an asshole. And being an asshole means, like, not being willing to listen to the impulse inside of my own head to take in input. And I think that a lot of times, like in your book Models, like people will overcorrect and just become dicks. And I would think that people that didn't think about this too deeply might just think that, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to be a dick and I'm going to not listen to the critical part of myself in the process of trying to become more assertive or more of an asshole. But I'm not really convinced on that either. Good article, man. Solid. Super solid. Great job. See ya.